Hey, and we're live.
Hey, everybody.
All
How's
right.
it going?
I'm Cole.
I'm Brian.
I'm Ian.
I'm the other guy.
And I'm Cole.
Hell yeah.
Back from the dead.
Back from the dead.
Cole has returned.
I am back.
After a
Famous,
very
the
long
infamous.
time.
I was off picking blueberries.
Picking blueberries.
Picking
Yeah.
blueberries. Wow, that is
Yeah, that.
the most blueberry-ass excuse I've ever heard.
That's impressive, given
you know-
that I don't think it's blueberry season, but alright.
Wow, what a nerd.
I
I
don't
Cole,
actually know that.
So
Guys.
Ian, I gotta tell you, I absolutely love what you did with the overlay. Like somehow Black Fox the movie sounds more epic.
You should have done Black Fox the movie, the video game.
Now that would be false advertising. Unless we're
That's-
announcing that Krwby Productions is stepping up to the video game industry. I don't think that's happening.
I don't think we're ready to make any commitment like that.
I didn't think so for some odd reason. So what? Oh God, I just realized. We didn't screw up the intro, guys.
Oh,
what
man.
are we doing?
We didn't screw up
I
the
mean,
intro.
we're pretty all over the place to begin with. So, hey guys, how's it going? Today we are talking about Studio 3 Hertz's new film, Black Fox.
Wait, it's new? When did it come out?
It hit Crunchyroll like 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's new, dude.
Huh?
And you know what? I have something to talk about at the very start.
Okay.
Brian, you said that Black Fox was a TV show. And I said, no, it's a movie. I turned out to be right, but so did you. Because Black Fox was originally going to be an anime production.
I'm really sad that it isn't one.
Well, when
we're
we
gonna-
get to the end of the movie, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we can talk about that because yeah.
Oh, hey, real quick, thank you so much, Albert Chin, for the $2 super chat.
Hell
Hey,
yeah.
thank
you
you.
so much, my dude.
Thank you.
Money's
Alright.
really awesome. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and start off by saying,
Well, hold on.
What?
Hold on. Let me get through a little bit more housekeeping first. So
we have housekeeping?
If y'all are not aware of Studio 3 Hertz, they're a relatively new studio.
Really fucking good at it.
They're known for doing stuff like Princess Principal, Flip Flappers, and Sword Art Online, Alternative Gun Gale Online.
Which have all been
Oh,
highly reviewed.
So they made the good version of Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Wrong. You're not wrong.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I was like, I remember way back when they made the announcement for Black Fox. There was no release date. There was a trailer for it. It looked fucking amazing. I was super hyped for it. And so when I heard that it finally came out, I was just like, man, I can't wait. Gotta watch it. So now here we are, and we're talking about it.
Talking about it.
Now on the podcast, which I was not expecting to do, but hell, I'm happy to do it. So Cole, go ahead and say what you were gonna say.
So I said in our group chat earlier that I had some thoughts about this movie. And my thoughts are, it was really fucking good and I loved it.
Wow, that's Dag, did you put that on like a 5-page essay in like large script?
Yes. like I wrote that exact sentence, except I just made the font size big enough that it took up 5 pages.
Yeah. Or you
But
made
no,
the page spacing really big.
I
So there's
thoroughly
one word.
enjoyed this movie. I had a great time. It was really good. It wasn't like a perfect movie, obviously.
Yeah,
But I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The animation was beautiful.
it was gorgeous.
The characters were adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Much
It
adorable,
very
yes.
clearly set up its theme at the beginning, and it followed through with it. It served like two separate there was a subplot too, and they developed that really well too. And it was just really, it was pretty well structured, and I loved it. It was a good movie.
You know what we forgot to do.
What did we do?
Uh-oh.
We forget a number of
Cole
things here.
wasn't here last week when we changed the format.
Oh,
So it's, I guess we'll tell it to Cole and to the rest of the audience. So the format is basically we used to go previously we just kind of go point by point through any given episode of an anime that we were watching and we'd talk about it. But a lot of the time it ended up being a lot more like a recap of
Like a
of
summary,
the episode.
yeah.
Like a summary or recap of the episode. And we don't want to do that. We want to have uh more compelling discussions about this stuff. So 2 weeks ago when we did Akira, we format where instead of going point by point, I come with a bunch of questions to ask the people on the podcast, and we all get into discussions about different aspects of the film.
okay.
And we kind of talk about like,
Well,
things we liked, things we didn't like. You know?
Yeah.
Well, either way, I really fucking like this movie. So.
Yeah, no, and so yeah, just and if like I said, we're trying new things, and please be sure to let us know if you like this format better than what we were doing previously. So
I would just like to
without-
point out that Black Fox is one word in the title.
it is. You are correct.
And our title
So
is wrong.
yeah, I mean, I guess Cole has already answered, given his answer to my first question, which is what are your overall impressions of the film? Like,
Oh,
did you
hey!
enjoy
In
it?
fact, it's because I'm a mind reader and knew you were going to ask that.
Okay.
Yep.
So in the spirit of courtesy, since I've already spurted out my first thing, how about first you take the next one and then I'll answer last, and then Brian can
Alright.
take it from there.
Okay.
Well, I liked it. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun movie. I would okay. Things I liked. All right. The animation is really gorgeous. Fight scenes were cool. Cool characters. Cool character design. Honestly, like I really like the character design in this. And it wasn't like it didn't feel too overdone. Like sometimes characters are just like, oh, that's the protagonist, just because they're wearing like 18 different outfits all at the
Yu-Gi-Oh.
same time. Yeah.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
This was good. You know, it's your typical revenge story. See, you know, any mafia movie ever, you know, Assassin's Creed, what like, you know, it's your typical revenge story. But also killer robot dogs.
Cole,
ninjas,
Cole,
so-
stop paying us.
No,
Stop paying yourself.
I do whatever the fuck I want. I'm not paying myself. You think I get paid?
Okay, that's fair. But anyways, go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good.
Yeah,
That was a fun movie.
Ian.
So, we're gonna get into like the more specific stuff later because I wasn't here for the most recent episode. I was on this weird thing called vacation. You may have heard of it.
This is
Weird. What's that?
Yeah, it's an alien concept to me. But I will say that I generally enjoyed the movie. I felt very off-put because it did feel like, are we supposed to cut to like the anime ending here at some point? It felt like I was watching a 12 episode anime that had been shortened into an hour and a half movie. That had then been put on Crunchyroll for me to see.
Are we talking about like the final battle scene or the
Or just
very obvious?
whole
I
thing.
think-
Hey, we're going to have a
So-
sequel. Did you know we were gonna have a? There's a sequel.
Yeah, so I liked the show. It felt a little off to me, and that was my reason why.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I guess we can jump ahead while we're on the subject was because that was one of the big things that I wanted to talk about was pacing. Because I agree. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I definitely want to talk more in depth about the characters because that's actually one of the things that I think was done really, really well in this movie.
I concur.
But as far as the actual plot and the story is concerned, I very much agree. It felt rushed. It felt like they were trying to take the plot of a TV show and condense it into an hour and a half film. And I like there were a lot of things that I think had we had more time, like and you know to be perfectly honest with you, I think that if this movie was an hour longer, or maybe even a half hour longer, it might have I might have been a little more convinced with the pacing. I think definitely another hour onto the runtime would have really helped.
An hour would have sold it, period, but I think they could have stuck the landing with 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Given the skill that they have portrayed in this movie, 30 to 45 minutes I think would be all they would need to sell it to me.
Yeah. There were just, I feel like, so yeah, like pacing wise, it felt very rushed. And I think the other thing that happened with that pacing was that I think that characters, and specifically character motivations, were not as fleshed out as they could have been.
Yeah.
So why don't we?
Honestly, I don't know that they needed to have been. Sorry to interrupt, but you say that the character motivations weren't really fleshed out. Again, this movie follows a very archetypical revenge narrative,
right?
Sort of thing, right? Bad guys kill father. Revenge on bad guys, but maybe bad guys good. Maybe forgive, not murder. You know, like it's a very typical plot. So I think that generic plot might do it a little bit of it might be doing it a favor in that they don't really need to characterize the motivations of the characters, because we kind of already know, just based on the plot, what their character motivations are.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you could say is a good thing or a bad thing, right? You could say, well, it's a pretty generic plot. But you could also say that, well, it just means they can spend more time animating cool stuff, which they did. So
yeah, so I guess that leads into, I mean, we've already sort of talked about the pacing. So let's dig into the characters. What did you guys think of the characters in this movie?
Should we start off with the humans or the robots?
Both. They're all characters.
The robots are effectively humans, right?
Yeah.
They are fully fleshed out and sentient. Yes.
I'll go.
Okay.
Go.
I'll go here. What? No? Oh.
No, go ahead.
Go.
Oh, I thought you said no.
I said go.
No, don't speak.
Okay, so I really like, first of all, the character design, fantastic. I have a weakness for anime girl protagonists with ponytails. It's like it's a powerful weakness, and it just like, man, she's so cute. First of all, second of all, she's so freaking awesome. Literally, her grandpa's a ninja and she's a ninja. And like how cool is that? A ninja scientist? What?
Yeah.
It's like they ask a 5-year-old, like, what do you want to see in a movie? It's like, a ninja scientist. You got it, buddy.
Basically.
Boy, do we have the movie for you.
And you'd be so surprised because it turned out really well. They work well together. I really like Rika. I will not call her Lily because that's my dog's name, and that's weird to me. So she's Rika, and I loved her. She was great. Freaking, I would have loved to see more of her because it like you said earlier, it had some pacing issues because it was definitely meant to be an anime and not a TV show, not a movie. But I really liked her and how she interacted with all the robotic animals. I thought they were super cool because they all had their own personalities, and they set that up at the beginning. But even though they have their own personalities, it doesn't detract from how competent they are. I wanted to see more of Rika and Mia because those two would be adorable together, and just want to see them. Just want to see more of them interacting. The roommate was fantastic. She was super cute.
I gotta cut in real quick. The roommate Melissa is freaking adorable. I love her. She's my favorite character.
Really?
You know, Brian, I really can't fault you for that. She's freaking adorable.
I mean,
real cute.
I would agree that she's like literally everything she does is maximum level adorable, but almost to the point of like that's all she's got. Like,
Don't ruin this forest.
if we're talking about shallow characters, she's like the most shallow.
So
I wholeheartedly disagree. I
I'm
So-
backing you up, Forrest. I got your back. 2 on
that's
2.
thunderstorm.
Krwby
I
talks
wholeheartedly
Civil War.
disagree.
Let's
Now,
go.
I think that Melissa, like, judging by the ending, okay, I feel like Melissa was originally intended to be a much more important character.
The
Well,
intention was
alright,
there,
so
sure,
I
but they
think
weren't able to
that-
execute on
set up
that.
for a
That the
simple
inevitable
aside.
sequel will have her become much more important. See,
Yes,
like she
that's
wasn't
true.
she wasn't super explored in this movie, but she didn't need to be explored because it wasn't her story. So I
Like-
can forgive that.
Like, first
Fair
of all,
enough.
I wanna throw,
She's like a C-level character. She's like a peripheral.
yeah,
She's there, but isn't really part of the plot until
Not to-
sequel time.
not to throw shade at other things that we've seen and already thrown shade at. I still feel like Melissa's a much better character than most of the characters in Fire Force.
You're not wrong.
You know, guys, I've been thinking about it. I think it's really upsetting that we did Fire Force and not Demon Slayer.
Cole,
That was literally our
Cole,
conclusion.
just
Many
let's
weeks ago.
not go down this rabbit hole, please. Please, I beg of you.
It's just
We have
it's
been
just
down
how
this road
popular.
before.
Oh my
No,
God.
so like, I want to talk about the adorableness that is Melissa, because I do feel like that there's something deeper there, and I do think that it was more set up for the next film, or potential anime series. Fingers crossed.
I want it so bad.
But
Just don't recap the movie and the anime. I don't need Dragon Ball Super again.
There was a scene where Mia was helping Melissa do some cooking, and Melissa ends up cutting herself, and Mia tries to help her, and Melissa gets really scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that seemed like that was definitely very let's just say that did not go with the trope of that kind of character that Melissa is.
No,
Right.
definitely not, and we know with good reason now that we've finished the movie.
Was there ever a given reason as to why?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
It's because she's a robot.
I'm sorry. I must have been taking notes and
Did
not
you
paying
not
attention.
catch?
She's a fucking robot?
Yeah.
What?
Robot.
Oh my-
I don't, so
God.
here, hang on, Brian. Brian, we'll explain. Like when the dad dies and she goes down into the grave to the emergency area, and there was a capsule labeled 00. That was her.
What?
Yep.
She says so. All the
How the
robots
fuck
are like
did I miss
001,
this?
0.
And not only that, at the end of the movie, the evil grin dude with the weird, like, totally, like, antagonist grin is like,
The guy that's
AM00
totally gonna turn
has
evil,
finally been has finally been found. It was all worth it. I should really thank the Isarugi girl for this. Also, one last potential note that's a giveaway.
Okay.
What other giveaway?
Wow, I missed a very important plot point.
And you missed one other thing. The biggest clue was in the final fight. You know those missiles that just seem to come out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and
mhm.
then
Yeah,
there's,
well,
there's
she,
like
like-
the flash of a hand, and then one of the robots.
No,
fires
I
the
remember
missiles.
that.
Yeah, that's her
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. She,
Okay.
she has the robot That's probably. I mean, that is why in the kitchen scene she was like, "Oh no, don't come help me."
Okay,
because
that
she
makes
wouldn't
sense.
be bleeding.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. So okay, that's fair. Well then, okay. Fair enough. Now
This throws off Brian's entire argument.
no.
So, real quick warning: if I randomly cut it at one point, that's because there's a thunderstorm. So,
Oh,
No.
well, lovely.
Cool.
All right.
So, that aside, right? Because I was literally sitting there at the end of the movie, like, Man, what the fuck is Melissa gonna do? Why did she join the team? Like, what powers does she have?
And now you know. She's
Now I
a
get it.
robot.
Now, why she's dressed like a cleric, I don't know. I mean,
Because
anime,
she's the
but-
white mage. And nobody fucks with the white mage.
I mean, you're not wrong, but still, that's
I will-
that's a very unique choice of outfit for a robot.
It's
Now,
yeah.
that does
Yeah.
beg the question, though. If she's a robot,
It's
right,
really cute,
and she
though.
was she was made by Rika's father, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Then why was it so important that Rika keep her not just the fact that like her father was killed and what she was doing, but her identity secret from Melissa? I'm very confused there.
Well, we don't know how.
But she didn't though.
Yeah, she did. She wouldn't tell Melissa what she was doing.
She didn't want to worry her. No, it wasn't her keeping her identity a secret.
She
If you'll notice, all the other robots also called her Lily because they were also trying to preserve her identity.
Oh, that's fair.
It's not as overt that Melissa is in on the secret, but she
Yeah.
is, and
Okay.
they're just not. It's not clear. Like I wasn't
Plus-
sure she was in on it either until the
See,
end of the movie
this-
when she appeared in the cleric outfit.
See, this
Well-
is the problem with taking notes on a first watch.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I see you don't do that, Brian.
Look, I've got shit to do, all right?
Yeah, like sleep for an absurd amount of time.
I'm sorry, did you see the schedule in the audio team channel, Cole?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay.
look at that. I'm gonna
I'm
look
working on productions. What are you doing?
at that.
Taking a break.
all right. Calm down, gentlemen. Let's not get into a fist fight over the internet.
Actually, let's. I want front row seats.
Yeah, it'd be pretty entertaining. Brian, I feel like we would just slap each other.
yeah, we probably would.
We'd not fight. You're like, eh.
But yeah, no, like I think Melissa is adorable. I really hope to see more of her in the future.
If it gets
but-
a sequel, I'm sure you will.
To answer Ghost Ninja's question, who is everyone's least favorite characters? Like, what do you?
Well, so I would say the dad because I fucking hated him.
The mad
But
scientist?
but like that was kind of the point, so I won't take off points for that.
Intentionally
Um,
evil.
Like that was the point, you know?
Yeah.
So like I guess I'll go with him because I didn't really dislike any of the characters in the show except for him, and I hated him because the show made me hate him. So it was well written.
I mean, I actually agree. I think that my least favorite character was the mad scientist dude.
For a different reason.
For a different reason.
Oh, no.
My reason for not liking him is because he's pretty generic mad scientist.
I mean,
Yep.
but like it's classic.
I can
Well, again,
understand that.
the plot structure we're working with is very much like it's a pretty cookie cutter plot.
It,
I mean, maybe,
it-
but
it looks like that it was a cookie cutter. Like this cookie cutter plot was like if you took like 12 cookies and you tried to assemble them into one cookie cutter shape.
see, but like the thing is, pretty much every single movie in all of existence follows a plot that you've already seen somewhere.
Yeah,
Probably.
pretty much.
But
Well, pretty much every single movie in existence follows the hero's journey. So it's
Yeah.
basically
Thank you, Greeks.
like it's like pretty like guys, we've been watching the same story over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like,
And we just really like this story.
yeah.
So- let me put it this way: my least favorite character was, I think I'm gonna say Evil Grin Dude, because I was
Oh,
hoping
okay.
he would play more of a prominent role in the show. In the movie than I was expecting him to. He had, I think we can count like 12 lines total. Like, I
Yeah.
was
He had
hoping-
evil villain monologue, and that
I-
was about it.
I think the reason is because they already had a villain for this arc and they needed to save one for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I understand
let's see.
that, but they didn't. like I was hoping that we might get maybe one more conversation between him and his mad scientist he keeps employed in his basement. Um, because
That's
it
pretty.
would really help set that up for me because we see him at the beginning and we see him at the end and we don't see him very much in between. I,
I
like
don't think we
one
see him
more
at all,
convers
do we?
I don't think we do, but I would have appreciated like one more conversation just to cement him in our minds. And I'm not saying least favorite is in I hate him, he's trash, get rid of him. Just I didn't dislike any of the characters. He was just the one that I least liked.
That was the question.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
So,
I would agree with you, Ian, for pretty much the same reason. Because I think, kind of in the principle of Chekhov's gun, right? Like, don't introduce an element that you're not then going to use. And he was definitely like, he appears in the beginning because he has to, and then he appears in the end because he has to. But his purpose is for sequel time, not for the any of the like. His actions have nothing to do, as far as we saw, unless there was some scene in the middle there, like you were saying, Ian, with him talking to mad scientist dude, right? About whatever mad scientist guy was working on or something like that. That would have, I think, cemented him a little bit more in this movie rather than just having him there as an obligation because he's needed for the next one, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's all I'm trying to say. I actually liked all of the characters. Like it wasn't like, oh hey, I'd give them all like a giant hug because they're all amazing. It was just I liked them. It wasn't too extreme, but cool.
Yeah. I mean, to be
Yeah.
fair, there's like 5 characters in this movie, so.
Yeah. I think I mean, let's dig into. I think we should at this point we should dig into our our two leads, the two characters that I think play the most prominent role, which is of course Rika and Mia.
Mhm.
And I so one of the things that this film does with its characters, and this is why character archetypes exist, right? Um, but Annika and I were having a conversation very recently regarding auditions for voice acting, and we were remarking that one of the things that we almost never, and for anybody who might ever want to audition for Krwby in the future, take note. um, so one of the things that we were remarking that we hear all the time, especially with auditions on casting call or things of that nature, um, is we hear a lot of actors who want to play things safe. Um, they they take a more middle road to their performance with a character, and as a result, you're kind of left listening to them going, "Eh, okay, it was all right." Um, and but the people who are really going to get the roles are the people who make bold character choices. You might not have all the information when you're auditioning about a character, but you stand up and you make a decision. You're going to say, I'm going to play this character this way. I'm going to stand out from the crowd. And you just kind of have to hope that what your decision of how to play that character is going to be enough to catch the interest of the casting directors, and that they're gonna sit up and go, "Oh, that's new or different," or go, "Oh, that's exactly what we're looking for." But if you take this kind of safe middle of the road, like I'm just kind of read the lines as normal as possible and whatnot, then you kind of get passed over. And I think that when you write characters, you have to do the same thing. I don't think that if you write your characters to just be like, okay, this is the archetype that we're going for, and you stick very rigidly to that archetype and you don't do anything else, then you wind. I mean, like archetypes are good. You go, okay, that's one choice. Okay, you're gonna make a character this way, right? But but I think we've all seen enough anime to know that uh, we these archetypes we see them pop up again and again and again, and if you don't do something different with it, then it's like, oh, I already know this character.
Yeah, like Hinawa from Fire
Mhm.
Force really
Mhm.
broke the mold for what was expected of his character in several ways. I know we're referencing the show we just did,
Mhm.
but like like he looked like the bookish, like I'll take notes and I'll be diligent, but then he loses his temper and it's like, what are you doing? And he does something that people would not expect a person in his archetypical position to do. And that's what
Yeah.
made him stick out, which is why we commented on his behavior so much.
Well,
Mhm.
it's archetype subversion, right? You take an archetype and then you do something with their character that is outside of that archetype a little bit, just to give them a little more flavor, right? To give them a little more personality.
Yeah. Now I will
And
say though that you you don't necessarily have to step outside of your character's given archetype to make
right,
a bold character choice.
That is
Uh
true.
and do something that's going to set them apart from the pack and make them a compelling character. Um and I saw that happen and I saw them do that quite a bit both with Rika and with Mia, where I never with both of those characters, even though they had to hack this plot up to fit it into an hour and a half, I still felt like these characters were not flat pieces of cardboard. They were three-dimensional characters. I've seen characters that are more three-dimensional than them, but I still felt like, man, like I'm connecting with this character. This character feels like a person. um I get where they're coming from. I know what they're about, and I want to see where they go.
mm-hmm.
I
And
totally agree.
and that is super super important to and I'm really impressed that they were that as much as they had to hack this story down, they still managed to make that come across so well with Rika and Mia.
See, I have to wonder too if like I think I touched on this too. Maybe this is just rehashing, but with the generic plot that they chose, this typical revenge
Mm-hmm.
story, um, we already have an idea of how that plot goes in our heads, and so we've already filled in some of the character
Mm-hmm.
traits for all of these characters. So what if you have a limited amount of time to sell these characters as people to the audience, right? Starting with that generic setting where we already assume, okay, this character is motivated by this character does this, right? And then your time, the actual runtime of the film consists of showing us the more intricate pieces of that potentially,
Mm-hmm.
which, I think they kind of did. They probably could have done it a bit better, but I think they did a decent job of it in this.
Yeah. um to kind of go off of that as well, like as far as example, like I know that I've said it multiple times before, but one of my favorite references for having an audience immediately sympathize with a character is the Ancient Magus Bride OVAs, with Chise. Literally, OVA opens, mother says, "I never should have had you," jumps out the window to her death, and now Chise is left all alone. Uh, and then follow that up by kids making fun of her at school because her mom killed herself. Um,
I would call that the save the cat moment.
in instant sympathy for this character, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and going through, and like I get that it's a pretty like we've said now multiple times, it's a pretty cookie cutter plot. Like we've seen this story many times before. But still having Mia, I think the thing that really characterized Mia for me the most was the scene where Rika and Mia sat down and played chess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because when she spoke, right, I was like, okay, this is the archetype that we're going for here. She's the quiet one. She's dead inside. Like, okay, I've seen this character many, many, many times, right? But then having her sit down, like you were talking about character subversion, right? Normally we don't see those types of characters smile until much later on in the story.
Yeah.
And then having them sit down, play chess, having Mia actually have fun and smile and laugh was and kind of seeing her joke around a bit, I was like, oh wow, this is no, there's depth here. There's not this is not this is not just a cookie cutter character archetype that I'm seeing. They've really thought deeply about this character and where she's coming from, and that definitely made me sympathize with her a lot more, especially because when you have a character that's just cold, you kind of you don't resonate with that character. But the moment that a character starts to warm up and you see a happier side of them, I think we all have a tendency to become a little more attached to those characters. And I think that was really, really important to making sure that we sympathized with Mia later on when it's revealed that her father, I mean, we already kind of knew it, but when it's definitively revealed that her father is an absolute piece of shit.
Yeah.
I love Mia though.
What?
Yes,
Mia was great. I loved her. She was fantastic.
she was good. I would say a little slow on the uptake. Like there was that one scene I didn't buy where she calls her dad and she's like, "Oh, I don't know where I am. Why are you asking where I am?" And then he's like, "Oh, actually, I forgive you for running away, and I just want to make everything better, and it's all gonna be good, and okay now, and just tell me where you are, and I'll come pick you up." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that makes total sense. Sure."
So
I mean, well, okay.
I'll go ahead.
So, like, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, like, wouldn't you hope for your parents in such a situation to turn over a new leaf? Like, I would want to hope for that too. And any hope, like, because I love my parents unconditionally, and I imagine not a lot of people like really all that she ever wanted was for people to love her and to have
for her
people
dad to
get-
love her. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And she's like, I have a chance for this. He wants to turn over a new leaf. I'll give him a shot. Like, I really can't blame her for that.
So
yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. At the same time, though, how many people's parents are putting shock collars on them to literally mind control them into killing people?
I mean, that's all she knew.
After a couple of times, you might be a little suspicious of their motivations.
So I think that there are two sides to this, because I have met, when it comes to victims of abuse, which Mia 100% is.
Absolutely.
I've seen two different sides of that. I've seen the side of abuse that, I mean, think about all of the instances of domestic abuse, right? Where, especially in the case where like a woman will not leave an abusive boyfriend or husband because they're basically told, their confidence in themselves has been beaten down time and time again, both mentally and physically. They're told that they're worthless. They're told that they're nothing without the other person. And so I think that the father has, I mean, granted, this was sort of shown in the film. I wish they would have shown it more, but he does do that. He's basically, he tells Mia that, I mean, you said it, right? Mia wants her father's approval. Mm-hmm. And he kind of feeds that to her in small doses. Yeah. And so she keeps coming back and putting up with this abuse because he knows that's how he gets her to do things. That's how he's able to manipulate her and get away with it. Yeah. And the same goes for victims of domestic abuse. Now, the other side of that coin is the victims of domestic abuse who have learned, who figured it out, and they are absolutely done. And no matter what you say, no matter what you do, there are, if you are the abuser, hopefully you're not. I would hope that none of you are abusers. But that they're just not gonna come back no matter how many times you ask, because that trust has been broken and it's been broken forever. And there's a lot of disdain there, generally, understandably. So I think that Mia is the earlier stage of that victim of abuse, of that person who's just desperately looking for approval, who wants to make things work more than anything else. And when you want to make things work like that, you can be blinded.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting so in that scene when Mia called her dad and was like, "Here's where I am," and he's like, "Oh, we can let's go to the police. Let's make this all work." I I get where the audience would be coming from, where they're like, "Oh, Mia, he's playing you. Don't do that." But I do kind of buy her reaction of just giving in and telling him, because, like I said,
she wants to believe.
She wants to believe it, and I've met enough victims of abuse to know that that's real.
Yeah. Well, I think it has something to do with. I mean, it might be that the abuser, in this case her dad, has sort of broken down her sense of self-worth, that she doesn't really see herself as being independent from him in that sense, or that his approval is the only thing that she really wants. We sort of see her, and maybe this is how she starts to develop as a character. We see her get another source of approval, right? She says when she's playing chess, or after she finishes playing chess with Rika, that was like the most fun thing she's ever done, or something, right? And it wasn't that they were having a great game. She was seemingly
she destroyed
wiping the floor with her.
Yeah.
But it was just that human interaction of having another person to play with, right? Having another person to be friends with. And maybe that's where, so yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. And I think it has something to do with, as well, a person who is, who is a, in an abusive relationship, they see, they're not seeing the other person as who they are, but who they want them to be, possibly, who they were before, quote unquote, the abuse started or something. Not that, that wasn't part of that person's character the whole time. They just didn't see it until a certain point, right? But there's this reliance on this image of the person they want the abuser to be versus the person the abuser actually is. And so, in the case of an abusive relationship, right, what they fall in love with is that image of a person in their head, not the person themselves. And so
they fall in love with a fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they want it more than anything else. And in that, I know that I said earlier that Melissa was my favorite character, and I do view Melissa as just the most adorable thing in the world. But if I'm being serious about my favorite character, it's Mia. I sympathize with Mia deeply, and I think that even in this, hacked up plot, I thought that she was really, really well characterized, and really well handled, really well written.
I agree.
So,
what's our next topic?
Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let me go look at my notes again. So let's talk about maybe a slightly lighter subject than victims of abuse.
That's
I think that could be a great idea.
What do you guys think about? So I know that we've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but what do you think about the animation in this film?
Oh!
Somebody had some passion. A lot of passion.
Oh, I loved the animation. It was so pretty. The characters felt so alive. Like they did these little tiny movements that, made them feel like a character. Freaking Melissa, the scene where she was trying to cook and messing up, I loved that animation. It was so good. So well edited. And like the fight scenes were really, really good. Don't get me wrong. For example, that final fight.
Hang on 1 second, Cole. Unknown Solstice, thank you so much, my dude, for the super chat.
Hey, thank you,
What?
man. We take everything we can get around here. It helps keep the lights on.
So freaking like, I really loved Rika's freaking suit, battle armor. In the final scene, the Black Fox armor. Holy shit, she looks so cool. And you know, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that can step on me." And I bet you thought the same thing, Brian.
Well, look, you're calling me out right now.
Yeah, I don't hear you denying it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to
he
be a
ain't
liar.
denying nothing.
But yes, I love, like, the animation is beautiful. I loved it. Felt so alive.
Yeah. I, to be honest with you, I've watched a lot of action anime. That's a lie. I've watched some action anime. No, but I've seen really good action. I've seen not so good action, and this, I think, is some of my favorite action in any anime I've ever seen in the past year.
Yeah, I agree. This has got to be some of the best I've seen in a long time.
The action animation was just top notch. And not just the animation, but the choreography and how it was shot.
I think that's I'm just, as it's going on, as I'm listening, but like just character introductions, right? When Mia first jumps down in her big cloak thing, like when like Cole, you were saying, when Rika first gets like the super armor, just like everything was just like, wow, that's a good shot, that's a good scene. The choreography is really good.
Yeah, like it's absolutely, yeah. This film was absolutely gorgeous from beginning to end.
That's one thing that I don't think, like, if it were an anime, the story would have been better. The animation would not have been nearly as good.
That's true. They were able to,
maybe a lot of like, especially it seems like for they know how to do their animation. I would like to think that they would have saved enough in their animation budget for this fight. I would like to think so. Maybe that's a bit on the wishful thinking part, but I don't see that it's out of the realm of possibility that they would have saved enough in the budget to be able to do that.
Now, I will say that, I know that we're talking about the ending fight, and the ending fight is amazing. But I kind of want to throw some love towards the opening fight.
The opening fight deserves
Oh my
a
God.
lot of love, especially
Rika versus Grandpa.
Yeah.
The opening fight starts like a girl is being chased. And we the audience don't know why she does, and it looks like she's being hunted up by like some creep. And until she like picks up a sword and starts deflecting shurikens, it's like, oh, she is not a defenseless little girl.
Oh, this little girl's a badass. Like
she caught a shuriken on the end of her scabbard. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they make you think that, because like when the trap door opens and she's like hanging on by her fingers, and you're just like, it looks like she's not even able to, and then she just like does a backflip and kicks a floorboard into, I don't even remember what was going on in that fight, but like yeah, the acrobatics, like they really sell the ninja fantasy.
Yeah. No, it was absolutely awesome. Now, okay, I kind of going very briefly back to the characters for a second to talk about the robots.
The robots?
The robots, yeah. With them, did anybody else, especially towards the end, did anybody else get a... I was almost getting like sort of kind of Power Ranger vibes.
With our powers combined.
Like, did anybody else feel that, or was it just me?
I mean, like,
I don't know about Power Rangers, but...
Well, I haven't seen Power Rangers in a literal decade. So
only a decade for you.
at least a decade. A little bit more.
So, like, what aspect of the Power Ranger are you talking about? Are you talking about, like, each one seemed to be like pairing up with a different animal in the end, or
Yeah, that was kind of. I guess that was sort of where I was getting it.
Well,
yeah,
I got a vibe of like them combining powers, like like she's this ninja who has these animal companions, right? And she didn't have all of her animal companions there during the last fight. She didn't have her super armor, but then like she finds the super armor right at the moment she needs it, and then all of her animal friends come back, and she's like, "All right, animal friends, let's go!" And
Mm-hmm.
it was like all of her powers, like she wasn't even at full power now,
I
kind
mean,
of
but
that
like,
kind of sense.
she didn't really need the super armor, to be quite honest. It was just cool.
You
I,
know,
I
no,
think
she
she
kind
needed
of
the
did.
She got punched through a building. I'm pretty sure she'd be dead if she didn't have the super armor.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay. You know what? You know what it reminds me more of. I think, within Power Rangers, I think it more reminds me of SSSS Gridman.
yeah, I kind
Uh,
of
I
see
don't know
what you're
what that
going
is.
for.
um, and which SSSS Gridman reminds me of Power Rangers. So.
Just, I would say, yeah, I agree with that, but just say Gridman. Don't put the
Like,
SS, please.
no,
Just
okay, you're right. That Gridman.
no, just stop.
um,
Give our poor viewers a break as you're blasting their eardrums with that S sound. Just uh. But
um,
I can kind of see that because like there are three of them. There are three animals. Like I can kind of see that. And who doesn't want like a robotic support animal that is also sentient and conscious and can be, like a sentient companion rather than just an animal pet who you trust and kind of command?
mhm.
And you can use it like a kite or like a grenade or like whatever she does with it. Like I felt like the animals sort of take the place of some of the ninja tools, right? Like the eagle is a
Mhm.
kite and the squirrel is a shuriken or grenade or something.
Mhm. um, so I will. So like, I kind of want to talk about, like we've been talking about all of the things that we like. I kind of want to talk very briefly about some of the things that I don't like. So some of the character motivations, um, and just kind of general things, right? So like, um, Rika's father creates these animal drones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. And then the dude shows up and he's like, "Hey, uh, you want to like work together and like use that technology to like fight wars and shit?" And I'm like, and he's like, "No, that was never what they were created for." And I'm just kind of sitting there like, "Well, then what were they created for?" What? Oh my god. Uh,
Oh,
but
don't worry
yeah.
about it. I don't know who he's talking to. I have no idea. But
Phones roll out.
Yeah, your
Cole, you
phone's
need to
real
put
loud.
yourself on like do not disturb, man. Please.
Mhm.
But what were you saying, Brian?
That could be my phone too, sorry.
No,
No,
it's 100% Forest.
Oh, Cole,
Because I'm speaking
Brian.
through my phone.
Yeah.
it's not my phone.
Oh, Forrest.
Um.
Forrest, put
My
yourself on do
phone's
not disturb or something.
my phone never leaves do not disturb.
Ugh.
um. But yeah, so like I'm just kind of like, well, if they aren't for war, then what the hell are they for? Like he like later on he's like, oh, like I made them as like friends, which I get that like I can understand artificial intelligence like getting to that point where like they're basically sentient, right? Like I understand that. But him being like, "Oh, like I created them so that we could have friends." I'm like, you could just like go outside and make friends.
Brian, you're one to talk.
Oh, but
Hey,
Wow.
Cole.
Yeah.
Cole, you're kind of surrounded by people who are prepared to beat the crap out of you on command, right?
I mean, yes, but I'm also surrounded by people who also laugh at that joke.
That's fair. That's fair.
Now, I think I think Bleacher pointed out something really good regarding um the mad scientist's motivation, which is that like kind of get where he's coming from. Like the dude developed superpowers, and somehow like this other scientist is like more successful.
Well, think about it. There was also a comment that the robots are not only controllable more easily, but they're also able to be mass produced.
I suppose.
And
like,
you don't have to torture children to make them.
Yeah, like it not
I
only
mean,
is
like
it more
plus,
ethical, but you can mass produce this research. Like if you think
I mean-
about it, yeah, you discovered superpowers, but those superpowers don't make you invincible, and they're rare. Rare enough that rare enough I would imagine that he did not need like he could not find that many candidates other than his own daughter and himself.
Well, I don't know if we can say that ethics is like the other side was making killer robot dogs, so
Yeah,
I
but you
don't
can
know
pass
if
it off as military. You didn't need to torture children. Is where you cross
still
the ethical
killer
line.
robot dogs. I'm just saying.
That
I mean,
Don't
you
make
know
killer robot dogs.
look, Forrest, that you call that like developing weapons for the next generation of warfare, and that's it. That's all you need to say. Point blank. Period.
But it's an AI. Don't make AIs with guns. We learned this from the Terminator movies. How many Terminator movies must there be?
Look, there are far too many Terminator movies already, and I haven't even watched them.
so
There only needed to be 2.
so something else that I really appreciated, and maybe this is because of the action animation-ness of it, but I have to say I very much appreciate, not that I was necessarily expecting it, but I've watched, especially a lot of the anime that I've watched lately has had a fair amount of fan service. I was really appreciative that this had exactly 0 fan service.
You know what? You're
And
right.
you know what? The girl was still cute.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
skin-tight bodysuits will do that, but yes.
Well, okay, but like, here's the thing. It's fine.
So, did we
No,
get
I
like
mean,
a
like,
close-up visual of them of
Hmm.
her breasts jiggling as she put on the suit or anything?
Yeah,
No.
no. There was no fan. There were no shots that were just like, why is that shot from the ground up slightly? I don't know, but yeah, no. There was no fan service in that sense, and as one who really abhors that kind of thing, I very much appreciated that.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, it was the same level of fan service that we see in our like in our superhero movies, like in our Marvel movies and stuff.
In that the guys are wearing shoulder pads the size of their entire chest cavities, and the ladies have spandex on. Yes,
Right.
Yep. That's the quality,
Well, okay,
everybody.
I mean, I would like to point out that at least in like My Hero Academia, right? Like, at least we got a bunch of dudes walking around shirtless. Like,
yeah.
like, look, I mean, like, not that I like angry, abusive people, but like, if I were gay, Bakugo's a good-looking dude.
Oh my god.
I mean, but he's
Pity
also
about
an
his
asshole.
personality, though.
I mean, he's also an asshole. So, like, if I were gay, I still wouldn't want anything to do with him. But,
I
like,
mean, if I were gay, Izuku is a literal cinnamon
did
roll.
you just say if I were a gay?
Yes, that is in fact what I said. No, it's not. No, if I were gay, Izuku is a literal cinnamon roll. Like,
Oh my god.
No, he's good. He's yeah.
Uraraka's got them thighs though.
Oh god, let's pull back a little bit. Let's pull back before Cole really goes down the rabbit hole. We aren't able to fish him out.
Yeah, wait till he gets to.
I love how we're like
Guys,
we're-
season 2 is in a week.
season 4.
season 4.
Shut up.
The next
Like-
season.
No, like
The
I love
second
how
time
I love how we're
that I
like
watched.
I love how we're talking about dudes' abs, but then the moment Uraraka's thighs come up, it's like, oh no, now we've gone off the deep end.
Ghost Ninja's
No,
like,
we
if
were-
I were
we
gay,
were well
raise
off
your
the
head.
deep
And I'm like, you know what? I can't blame you there. He's got that I don't give a shit look about him.
Yeah.
Wait, who?
Eraserhead.
Yeah. But yeah, so all right. Let's see. Looking over my notes. How about the music? What do you guys think of the music?
Oh yes. Okay, so I'm gonna lump in music with audio.
Okay, I go.
So the audio was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
It was masterfully done, and I noticed it immediately. Like they paid such good attention to like little areas where just needed a little extra sliding sounds, and just the sound design was off the scale good.
There was a
The
lot of character to the sound work.
Absolutely there was. These were people who cared about the project they were doing, and it really shows. The music was beautiful. It matched everything perfectly. To like I didn't notice it, and that's the perfect thing, is when you don't notice it and it blends in perfectly with the scene. You know? Because if it gets like, if you start noticing it, sometimes it's like, oh, that music is awesome, and you start paying less attention. But like, I didn't notice it at all, and it just really helped complement the scene, and it was great.
See, I disagree there. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the music. I don't believe that music's purpose in film should always be to hang back and not notice it.
I mean, that's true.
Keyword
but
always. Yes.
Keyword is always. I think that there are especially as a re-recording mixer, when I definitely have a tendency to mix music loud, because music has such incredible storytelling power, and I wish more directors realized that. Because like I've worked with directors, and I've spoken with directors who are of that mindset, that they say, I want music to always hang back. I never want I want it to be there to subtly reinforce the emotion of a scene, and I never want the audience to notice that there's music. And I am of the opinion that if there's a really good music cue that really serves the story well, that has some kind of musically has some kind of commentary on the story, I want to bring that up. I want the audience to hear that. I want the audience to take note of that music and be able to have that music tell them something about the story, and further the storytelling of the movie or show, that that they might not have otherwise been able to notice had I mixed the music lower.
So I realize I worded that poorly. What I meant was that, like, it didn't jump out to me as it just being the music.
Right.
Like
there was no point where it was just like, hey, there's music now. Did you know there's music?
The intro.
Yeah.
The title screen. Right. That's the only time I noticed the music step forward and be the center of attention.
Which, I mean, is when it's supposed to.
Which is when it's supposed to. That's a good time for it to do that. And it, blaring. It wasn't like super memorable, but it did everything it needed to do. It was lots of horns and cool stuff, and it was very dramatic, and almost like it had a sort of, I don't want to say patriotic, but it had a sort, it had that kind of heroic sort of feel to it, which I think fits a lot with the world design of this movie taking place in some sort of fictionalized American city.
Was it American?
I know. I don't think it was American.
I believe it was. I'm pretty sure it was.
That was something that I wanted to point out, because I don't believe it was American. If it was, then then that makes sense. But I noticed that all of the text and stuff was in English, but the way the city was laid out, it was very Japanese. What
makes you say that?
Just the number of signs and billboards, and the way those billboards were laid out. They
literally have a Times Square though.
Do they?
We literally see a Times Square equivalent. I'm trying to go back and see if they drive on the right or the left.
Yeah, it looked a lot. It looked a lot like New York.
It looked a lot like New York. All the taxi cabs, the skyscrapers. The fact that they all use like English, like she doesn't call her dad the Japanese word for dad. She calls him papa.
They also call them apartments.
Okay, but
But there's other examples too. Like they use more Englishy words for certain things.
Ooh, yeah. There's also a point where she specifically said "thank you," wasn't
Well,
there?
Yeah,
okay,
to
but
the
that's
taxi driver.
right. But okay, the thing that you need to know about Japanese is that the Japanese actually do pretty. I I shouldn't say regularly, but it's not uncommon for Japanese people to actually use English words. Like
Fair
if you
enough.
watch any other kind of media, you will hear Japanese people say "thank you" um, as well. And I've talked to Annika about this, and she said like, no, that is a real thing. They do use English words from time to time, and the reason is apparently they think Americans are just really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like how is it like how the British throw French into like things to make it sound cooler?
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Because like we think the opposite.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we speak English. English isn't extra cool. It's just that's just
No,
what
we
speak.
think Japanese people are cool.
Well, also we have a bunch of like non-English idioms baked into our language already, though.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it has to do. The reason why they have that perception has to do with a lot of American media and a lot of like action movies and stuff. So
Yeah.
if you,
We have a lot. Our entertainment industry has a big influence.
yeah,
That's true. That's very
and
true.
so like if you use English words, then it's kind of like you're calling back to those American action movies, and it's like it makes you cooler, I guess.
It makes you cool. It makes you Rambo.
Can we just imagine like
Okay,
a bunch...
I need the whole world to stop for one moment.
Okay.
Somebody mentioned Rambo. This might be a little on the more niche end, but there was a movie called Downton Abbey that people may or may not have heard of.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
During the
Wasn't that a
weekend when
show?
Rambo was yeah, it was, and it got a movie in theaters. It blew
Ah.
Rambo out of the water this last weekend.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a TV show movie that went into theaters, blew Rambo.
So
I will
what
say
I've heard about that movie is that it just felt like a long episode of the show.
It was. That's all I had to say on the matter, but it was important that I represent very well. Continue.
I will say part of the reason why I feel like it's this was supposed maybe it was a more Americanized version of stuff, but I still feel like it was supposed to be Japan, was that Rika's house was like absolutely Japanese style.
You make a fair point there.
Well, okay. He's a Japanese guy. He has a Japanese house, but
But
you
they
can
didn't
build
really.
a Japanese house anywhere you want. We
But
have
it
some
was
in this town.
definitely like a historic house that they'd had for a
Yeah,
long
and then there was a shrine that was also very Japanese.
It was
Well,
a,
but
it
look
was a
at
traditional
her.
epic Japanese household. Like they were an old money, old family.
Yeah,
Like, they
but look
had
at her
money.
apartment that she's living
I
in.
wouldn't say
it's
old
like
money,
a high-rise
because
like New York.
He was a really important scientist, so I
He
don't
was
think
an
it was old
important
money.
scientist, but you don't like it seemed like they had that home for a very long time, like it was a family home.
Yeah, well,
It did
because
not seem like a
Grandpa's
recent
part of
acquisition.
some ancient ninja clan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, they drive on the right, so.
Oh,
Well.
snap, son.
I mean, the Japanese drive on the right too, right?
No, they drive
No.
on the left.
Huh. It's
I don't
really
know
funny.
why.
It's really funny because like a lot of people think that the rest of the world drives on the left, but they don't.
It's just England and Ireland and Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It's literally.
Like in Africa, they drove on the right, and it was terrifying because everyone in there is terrible at driving.
Yikes.
I want you to know, traffic lights didn't exist. They literally don't exist.
Yikes. That's not concerning at all.
Who needs traffic lights?
To also talk a little bit about going back to the music a little bit. I was looking through the credits and was very interested to find that the orchestral soundtrack, the orchestral portion of the soundtrack, was recorded here in the U.S. in Nashville.
What?
At Ocean Way
Really?
Studios, which is one
Well-
of the really big, famous Nashville studios.
Well, it's really for those of you who don't know, I live 20 minutes from Nashville. But I mean, Nashville's really big for music. That makes sense.
You know, I've started, and I don't know how long this trend has been going on, but in the time that I've been into anime, I have definitely seen a I've definitely seen a trend of using international orchestras to record the music. For example, when Little Witch Academia came out for the first two films, they used the Russian Cinematic Symphony Orchestra or something like that. And then when they did the TV show, they used the Boston Pops.
Ah.
And I believe recorded it in New York.
Think about.
Or no, I don't remember where they recorded it.
I just imagine some like really southern like orchestra players just like, now what in the hell we recording for some kind of
there was
anime?
Also some of the music for Your Name was mixed by Tom Lord Alge. Yes, relation to Chris Lord Alge, the really famous music mixer.
I don't know who either of those people are. So.
But yeah, so like there's especially when it comes to music, there seems to be a lot of international collaboration in anime.
I mean, there are just a lot of people who are good at music.
Yep. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the soundtrack very much. So I mean, I think we've already kind of touched on this, but I wanted to just kind of go around and ask, like, are you down for a sequel? Do you want to see more?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I want one very bad.
I will give a qualified yes. The qualifier being whatever they make, be it movie or seasonal anime, they actually make it as if it's going to be what it eventually becomes.
That, yeah.
that is my one qualifier, and I don't think that's too much to ask.
Fair enough.
I agree.
I definitely wouldn't mind another movie.
Yeah, my qualifier would be maybe don't spend the last like 15 minutes of the movie setting up the next movie. But I guess if it was originally a show, like an anime, then that's how you string a show together. So that makes sense. But I just felt like there was a lot of stuff in this movie dedicated to setting up the next movie. That, like, we didn't get
I
to
would
see.
say a lot.
Yeah.
The whole ending scene plus an entire villain arc.
I mean, sure, but realistically,
plus an entire character that, like, oh, she's just her random cute housemaid person. Oh, wait, no, she's a robot. Oh, wait, she's now part of their girl squad.
But
like, hang on.
But realistically, you could have chopped off that entire ending scene, and the movie would have lost nothing.
That's my point.
So really, that was just extra. So I have no qualms with that. That was extra setting up for the movie. Well, setting up for something next, not something within this movie that set up for the next that took away from the movie.
Well, but as we said, like, this movie does have a bit of a pacing issue. I think I didn't have as much of a problem because even though the pacing was like maybe a little like it was too fast and they didn't really give enough time to any one scene, it was consistent. Like, it wasn't like it sped up and slowed down and sped up and slowed. It was a consistently fast pace.
Well,
so, I mean, they could have spent a little more time fleshing out some of those scenes if they'd had a little.
I will say it did kind of feel like there were two climaxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was weird.
Well, because the big fight scene at the end and then sort of the denouement was almost itself another climax.
Well, no, it was more so they felt like there was a climax at the midpoint.
Oh.
Like when Rika took Mia. That felt like that whole fight kind of felt like one. I mean, it wasn't, but it kind of felt like one.
I think so I mean, once again, we're following the hero's journey, right? So you have your inciting incident, which in this case, or you have the normal world, which was, her with her grandfather and her dad and whatnot, and then the inciting incident, which was obviously her grandfather and her father being killed, which sets her out.
Spoilers!
On a story of vengeance.
Yeah, on a and which sets her out on her adventure, and she meets friends and allies along the way, and then you go out, and then within the hero's journey you go out, and at the midpoint you're supposed to go have a big confrontation with the people that you're trying to fight, lose,
You're
come
not
back.
strong enough.
You weren't strong enough, lose, come back, lick your wounds, figure out another strategy, get stronger, go back, save the day.
Well, and
That's fair.
there's the
That's
refusal
fair.
of the call before that, right? The nadir, the fall, and the refusal of the call,
Right.
which I don't know that she does kind of have a crisis, because in that mid battle, right? She defeats Mia, basically.
Mhm.
I'm definitely referring to
raises her,
beat than you
and she
guys
says, "Grandfather, give me strength," and she's gonna kill her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the dog stops her,
Yep.
right? He's like, "No, this is not the way."
You do not know the way.
Like,
So then she has to fight him again, or fight Mia again.
I'm definitely referring
Right.
to a different beat sheet than you guys are.
But no, like I guess I see what you're saying, but yeah, no. My biggest problem, like I said, is the pacing, because I think that the pacing undercuts a lot of other things. There's a lot of other things that seem to happen by coincidence. Like, for example, why the hell did her grandfather and her father tape a message when they were expecting to see her in person? Like, they had a whole,
Because it was needed for that scene.
exactly,
Because it was sweet. Okay.
exactly. Like, it was because it
cute.
was needed for that scene.
I
mean,
definitely cried. I want it to be known. I definitely cried.
They kind of explained it, because it was like, "Hey, Grandpa's first video conference. Isn't that funny? Look at him using technology. He's a ninja. He doesn't know what computers do."
I definitely like. I mean, I know that we already kind of talked about it. I definitely like that in her Black Fox outfit, it's a combination of like the two.
Exactly. I loved it.
And of the scientific technology and like the old school ninja stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely
Also, rocket boosters.
Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was, but yeah, there's just a lot of stuff like that that's just kind of like, this happens because it needed to happen, like, because plot. And I think that there would have been a lot less of that had they had had more time.
I mean, maybe, but it was
I don't
really
know.
good.
I feel like
I liked it.
typical hero stuff, kind of, contrivance and plot is kind of par for the course.
I suppose.
Because there's that whole
that
scene
is
with
what
them
this
running
is.
away.
Like, if it wasn't clear before, it's definitely clear by the end. This is a superhero movie.
Yeah, it is.
It does that pretty well, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to have a lot of plot.
I would agree.
You just gotta have some cool characters get into a big punch up, and like two people shoot different color lightning at each other at the end, and you got a superhero.
Yeah, basically. So
Even freaking Harry Potter did the two lightnings thing. Like,
so here's my question: what else do we have left to color? Because we've covered
I don't think we do.
a lot of stuff.
We're almost there. We're wrapping up. Actually, Ghost Ninja had a question for us. He said, would you guys want it to become a string of movies, just a sequel, or have a full anime with like multiple seasons?
I don't care as long as it's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm ambivalent. I'm ambivalent. Just do it right.
I would.
Or left.
We've had
whichever
setup.
direction works.
I would honestly
set up for one more movie, or maybe another, like a short.
I would honestly
be
interested to see I think it'd be kind of fun to see a string of films, because then then ideally the quality remains the same.
Yeah.
And when they're not trying to condense, I genuinely believe that, if they did whether they did another show or another movie, being able to move forward without having to have hacked up what was clearly a much bigger plot initially, and like you were saying, Ian, like write it for its given medium. I really think that it has the potential to be very, very strong.
As a person who had to write a screenplay recently for I had to write a screenplay for class, and screenplays are normally like 110 pages long, and our teacher initially was gonna have us do a 60-page one, but then he cut it down to 30, and because there were so many students in the class, and the story I was writing did not fit 30 pages at all, and it is most certainly the worst thing I've ever put my name to the paper on. It's really bad, and I will be trashing it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think we've covered just about everything. I think the last thing that I really wanna talk about is what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, like, I feel like they kind of spelled it out at the end, but it's on the docket, so we'll ask the question.
Predictions.
Not predict. Well, I mean, we could talk predictions too. But what do you think the theme of this film was beyond just a typical revenge story?
Okay, so I think there were two. Well, there was one real theme, but like there was crap. I forgot. Okay. Anyway, it was there was a theme stated early on. It was frick. There's a theme stated early on where like they're designed to like when they frick,
I think
when
you're talking about I think you're talking about the conversations that are had where like she tells her grandfather that she doesn't want to be like him, she wants to be like her dad.
No.
That's or are you talking about when or are you talking about when the grandfather is like you gotta aim to kill?
No, that's not. What I think the theme is I think it was when he was talking about the robotic animals, and he said that like they're designed to be your friends, and friends are there to help you.
Okay.
I think that was the theme.
Friends are there to help.
I gotta say I'm with Bleacher here. I think the theme for this film was 100% choose your own path.
Like that's really I think there were a few different ones.
There were a couple mixed in there, but it was definitely like find your own way in life. You don't have to follow you don't have to follow tradition. You don't have to do what other people tell you to do. You need to choose for yourself.
You know, I'd forgotten there was I'd forgotten about the other locations of the movie where they covered that, and now I remember them, and now I agree.
Well, I mean, the friends, she does make friends along the way, and her friends do support her. But at the end of the day, it's Rika and only Rika, like, that defeats Mia and saves the day. And she does it through her own willpower and her decision to not necessarily be a ninja and stab lots of people, or also be a scientist and save people. But she does both, saving people by stabbing them. I don't know how that works, but.
I will say,
like with a needle, filled with vaccines.
The good kind of stabbing.
I will say we are now in our movie, our anime movie weeks before Ruby returns. We are now 2 for 3 on films with antagonists with telekinetic powers.
That's true. Yeah.
They had a bit more than telekinetic powers, though. They had like some energy manipulation tossed in there that I could not entirely explain.
Real quick. This is not related to anything we've been talking about, but I was just going through that's like the final scene with Mr. Hey, what if we put Voldemort in charge of a city guy?
There was
I see that.
Who was it that said? Who was it that said something? There was somebody earlier on in the chat that was talking about that particular character, and said
Brad.
something about like him looking like a snake.
Oh yeah,
So
he's very much Voldemort. If Voldemort
I'm
smirked
pretty-
evilly.
I'm pretty positive he either survived. He has cancer or survived it because he didn't have eyebrows either.
Oh, is that why he doesn't? You're right.
So
or
Ah.
he's Lex Luthor.
Or he's.
I'm pretty sure Lex Luthor has eyebrows.
I mean,
he's
it depends on
Voldemort.
the iteration of
Does Voldemort
like,
have eyebrows?
That's true. Or he's secretly Super Saiyan 3.
But anyways, his office in his super giant skyscraper in the city that's literally named after him. There's a statue. I was trying to figure out what it was.
Oh my God, he is Lex Luthor.
But he has a statue of what looks like a wolf biting a fox, like a black fox being attacked by a silver wolf.
Oh.
Nice catch.
Just putting that out there.
Or maybe he's Ghost Nappa.
So
Nani.
so we should so yeah, before we call it, why don't we, because it definitely seems like they're setting up for another film or another something, do we have any predictions?
I predict that this next movie's gonna be, or whatever they do, is gonna be really good. Because this is all I say. But because this was obviously a passion project, there's a lot of love put into this movie. And I really believe that they're ready to put as much love as they did into this one into the next one.
Yeah,
I agree. Forrest?
seems like it'll be a good romp.
Okay. Ian?
I think that I think that Robo Girl will become a real character.
Yes.
Unlike our predictions for
I'm a
other
real
characters
girl
becoming
now.
real characters.
So I know I hate to go to this shippy place, but I gotta say, like, I know, Cole, you were talking about like the idea of Rika and Mia being super cute together. I absolutely adore the idea of Rika and Melissa.
Fucking fight me.
I feel like almost her character is designed. She's literally like the. And I hate to say it. She's basically a stay-at-home wife character. Like that.
I mean,
Or she
obviously
was.
not. She's going out and fighting bad guys with them now.
Yeah,
She
now she's
was,
but
because
her
that's what the
initial-
situation required of her character to be.
Yeah.
She
that's
had
fair,
to be
that's
someone
fair,
who
but-
lived at home and convinced any outside observers that she was a normal person and Rika was a normal person.
Yeah, I still don't know. I didn't pick up that she was in on it until
Well, that's
like,
the
end,
point.
when obviously she's in on it, but
That's the
I guess-
point. You weren't supposed to know.
I guess not. Her cover was well executed.
Yep. So with I agree. I predict that Melissa will become a real character. And I predict that there will be more awesome action. I predict that they will be kicking some Lex Luthor butt.
Oh yeah, he going down.
That's his name now.
Yeah.
Lex- Voldemort
um,
makes Lex Luthor.
Yep. So I think with that, we are now officially at the hour and a half mark. So I think
The
it's time
same
to.
length that this movie went.
do we talk about what we're gonna do next, or?
So what we're going to do for the next film that we're going to talk about is we're not going to pick it. We're going to pick a bunch of options and we're going to put that to a vote.
What?
I like that.
What?
Voting.
So we will let you guys pick what you guys want to hear us talk about.
That sounds like a
and if we
discussion we're having after the podcast.
Yep. And if we don't get enough submissions as to what you guys want to see, then fuck it. Who needs you? We'll pick it ourselves.
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
pretty sure we need them, Brian.
Right.
50 watching, 2 watching.
We love you. Please don't go.
What have you done? Ghost Ninja, that is not family friendly. I'll say that right now.
Boku no Pico.
Oh man, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I had an absolute blast watching this movie, and I hope to have an absolute blast watching the next one. All right, thank you guys so much. Bye.
Bye.
Boy.